Dr. Lisa Morgan floated near the observation window of the research vessel. Stellar dawn, and watched the purple clouds of the Kepler Nebula swirl around them like cosmic fog. The bioluminescent particles created patterns that reminded her of deep ocean creatures back on Earth. She had been studying these organisms for 3 months now, and still found new surprises every day behind. Her Amy Foster worked at the engineering station checking power levels and system diagnostics. Amy was the kind of person who could fix anything with spare parts and determination. Her hands moved quickly across the control panels, making small adjustments to keep their ship running smoothly in the nebula environment. Kate Wilson sat in the pilot seat monitoring their position and flight path. She had flown military transports before joining the research team, and her experience showed in how smoothly she handled the ship. Even in the strange gravitational fields of the nebula, Kate kept them stable and on course. Beth Taylor occupied the communications station, where she analyzed the strange signals they had been picking up from deeper in the nebula. Beth specialized in alien languages and communication patterns. She believed the signals might be from an unknown species trying to make contact. The 4 women had worked together for 2 years, mapping unexplored star systems. Their mission was peaceful scientific research, but they all knew the dangers of deep space exploration. Equipment could fail, alien creatures might be hostile, or they could encounter something completely unknown. Lisa turned away from the window and walked over to check the latest sensor readings. The bioluminescent organisms seemed to be gathering in larger groups than usual, forming complex patterns that almost looked like writing or symbols. She wondered if these simple creatures might actually be more intelligent than anyone had suspected. Amy looked up from her station and spoke to the group. The power systems are running perfectly, but I am getting some unusual electromagnetic readings from outside the ship. It might just be the nebula, but I want to keep monitoring it. Kate nodded and adjusted their course slightly to avoid a particularly dense cloud of particles. The autopilot systems were having trouble with all the interference, so she had switched to manual control hours ago. Her hands remained steady on the controls. Despite the challenging conditions, Beth suddenly became excited as she listened to her headphones. The signals are getting stronger, and they definitely have a pattern. I think someone or something is trying to communicate with us. The mathematical sequences are too complex to be random. Lisa moved to look over Beth's shoulder at the signal analysis. The patterns did seem intentional, with repeating sequences and mathematical relationships that suggested intelligence behind the signals, though she noticed something else that made her feel uneasy. There seemed to be other signals in the background that were scanning their ship far beyond their sensor range. Another ship moved silently through the nebula. The vessel's shadow edge was unlike anything humans had ever built. Its hull was smooth and organic-looking, with curves that flowed like liquid metal. The ship belonged to the Keth Mori, a species that had been hunting across the galaxy for thousands of years. On the bridge of Shadow Edge, 3 figures studied holographic displays showing the human research vessel. The Keth Mori looked similar to the elves from human mythology, with tall, thin bodies, pointed ears, and pale skin that seemed to glow with inner light. Their eyes were large and completely black, without visible pupils. Sarathel was the leader of this hunting party. She had lived for over 800 years and had hunted creatures from dozens of different worlds. Her movements were graceful and predatory, like a cat preparing to pounce. She found the small human ship amusing in its crude design and primitive technology. Vera Lynn served as her lieutenant and had been hunting for 3 centuries. She preferred quick, clean kills and found sport in creatures that could run fast or hide well. The humans looked soft and slow from the sensor readings, nothing that would provide much challenge or entertainment. Mira Seth was their tracker, with enhanced senses that could follow prey across star systems. She studied the biosignatures from the human ship and noted that these creatures seemed to have elevated stress hormones, even when not threatened. Perhaps they would be more interesting than they appeared. Sarah Thel spoke to her companions in their musical language. These humans are perfect for our next hunt. They are small, weak, and far from any help. Their ship is primitive and will be easy to disable. We can give them the traditional 3-day warning and then begin the sport. The Keth Mori had developed hunting into an art form over millennia. They would disable a prey ship, strand the creatures on a suitable planet, and then hunt them for sport. The hunt always ended the same way, with trophies added to their collection and stories to tell other hunters. Vera Lynn suggested they should scan the humans more carefully to understand their capabilities. The readings showed that these creatures had basic weapons and some military knowledge, but nothing that would threaten experienced Keth Mori hunters. They seemed to work together as a group, which might make the hunt slightly more interesting. Myra Seth activated the scanning systems that would monitor every aspect of the human ship, their communications, their movements, and their emotional states. The hunt was always better when the prey was properly studied. First, understanding their fears and weaknesses made the final chase more satisfying. On the stellar dawn, Beth noticed that the scanning signals were becoming more focused and seemed to be coming from a specific location rather than the nebula itself. She tried to trace the source, but the signals were too sophisticated for their equipment to analyze properly. Lisa felt a growing sense of unease as she watched the sensor displays. Something was watching them, studying them, in ways that felt predatory rather than curious. The bioluminescent organisms around their ship had started to move in agitated patterns, as if they sensed danger approaching. Amy ran full diagnostics on all ship systems, but everything appeared normal. The electromagnetic readings were stronger, but not threatening to their equipment. Kate maintained their course, but prepared contingency plans for emergency maneuvers if needed. None of the humans realized they had already been selected as prey by creatures that had never failed. To complete a hunt, the Keth Mori began preparing their weapons and hunting gear, while calculating the best planet in the system for their traditional sport. The stage was set for a confrontation between species that had never encountered each other before the humans continued their peaceful scientific mission, unaware that predators were closing in. The Keth Mori prepared for what they expected to be another easy hunt. The electromagnetic pulse hit the stellar dawn without warning. Every system on the ship died at once, leaving the 4 women floating in complete darkness and silence. The emergency lighting flickered on after several terrifying seconds, casting red shadows throughout the vessel. Amy immediately began checking the damage, while Kate tried to restart the engines. The pulse had been precisely calibrated to disable their ship without destroying it completely. Someone wanted them alive, but helpless. Lisa felt her heart racing as she realized this was no accident. A voice suddenly filled the ship, speaking perfect English with a musical accent that sounded almost hypnotic. "Greetings, humans. I am Zarathel of the Keth Mori hunting fleet. You have been selected for the ancient ritual of the Great Hunt." Beth grabbed her translation equipment, trying to record and analyze the alien speech patterns. The voice continued without emotion, explaining that they had 72 hours to reach the planet below before the hunt would begin in earnest. This was their traditional warning period. Kate worked frantically at the pilot controls, but the engines would not respond. The ship was falling toward the jungle planet, and she had no way to change their course. Amy confirmed that all major systems were dead, except for life support and basic communications. Lisa demanded to know what the aliens wanted, but Zarathel simply laughed. The Keth Mori had hunted across the galaxy for thousands of years. Collecting trophies from creatures that provided sport and challenge humans would be added to their collection after a proper hunt. The alien explained the rules with casual cruelty. The humans would be given basic survival equipment and transported to the planet's surface. They would have 3 days to prepare before the hunting party came after them. The hunt would continue until all prey was captured or killed. Amy managed to get partial power back to the ship's systems, but it was too late. They were already entering the atmosphere with no control over their descent. Kate used her piloting skills to aim for a clearing in the jungle canopy, but the landing was still rough enough to damage their shuttle beyond repair. There 4 women gathered what supplies they could carry before the Keth Mori transport beam pulled them from their ship. They materialized on the planet's surface in a small clearing surrounded by dense jungle vegetation. The air was hot and humid with strange sounds echoing from the forest. Lisa immediately began analyzing their situation while the others secured their equipment. The planet had breathable atmosphere and gravity similar to Earth, but the plant life was unlike anything in human databases. Many of the trees had metallic bark that reflected light in rainbow patterns. Beth tried to establish communication with the Keth Mori ship, but received only silence. The aliens were probably watching and listening to everything they did. Kate began scouting the area, looking for defensible positions or escape routes. Through the jungle, Ami started working with their salvaged equipment to create tools and weapons. She had spare parts from the ship and emergency supplies that could be modified. The aliens expected helpless prey, but Amy intended to give them something more dangerous on the shadow edge. Vera Lynn watched the humans through advanced sensors and felt disappointed by what she saw. The creatures were moving slowly and seemed confused by their predicament. This hunt might be over quickly, without providing much entertainment. Zarathel was more patient and studied the human behavior patterns carefully. She noticed that they were not panicking or running in random directions. Instead, they seemed to be organizing and planning, which was unusual behavior for prey species. Mira Seth focused her enhanced senses on the human emotions and found something unexpected. Instead of pure fear, she detected anger, determination, and something else that felt almost like anticipation. These creatures were not responding like typical preyback. On the planet's surface, Lisa had taken charge of organizing their survival efforts. She assigned tasks based on each person's abilities and began developing a strategy that went beyond simple hiding. Kate would handle reconnaissance and movement. Amy would create weapons and defenses. Beth would monitor alien communications and develop psychological tactics. The first night passed without incident, but none of the women slept well. Strange noises echoed through the jungle, and they could feel eyes watching them from the darkness. Lisa realized the aliens were probably studying their behavior. Before beginning the actual hunt, Kate discovered that the metallic trees could be climbed easily and provided good observation points. She also found that many of the jungle plants had properties that might be useful for camouflage or creating distractions. Amy began fashioning explosive devices from their equipment, while Beth analyzed the alien language for weaknesses. When dawn came, Vera Lynn decided to begin the hunt early. She was eager for action and confident that these soft-looking humans would provide little resistance. She equipped herself with traditional Keth Mori hunting weapons and descended to the planet. Alunkit spotted the alien hunter approaching through her makeshift observation post. Vera Lynn moved with inhuman grace through the jungle, but she was following predictable patterns that Kate recognized from her military training. The alien was hunting like a predator that had never faced organized resistance. Instead of running, Kate led Vera Lynn into a carefully prepared area where Amy had set up improvised explosives. The alien hunter was overconfident and followed her prey directly into the trap without considering that humans might fight back. The explosion caught Vera Lynn completely by surprise and sent her flying into a cluster of metallic trees. The alien was wounded and disoriented but not killed. Her advanced physiology was tougher than human biology, but she was bleeding from multiple cuts. Kate appeared with a makeshift spear fashioned from ship components and alien plant fibers. She attacked while Vera Lynn was still recovering from the blast. The alien hunter had superior strength and speed, but was unprepared for aggressive tactics from what she considered prey. The fight was brief but brutal. Kate used dirty fighting techniques learned in military training while Vera Lynn tried to use her natural advantages. The alien finally managed to escape, but she was badly wounded and completely shocked by what had happened. For the first time in Keth Mori history, a hunter had been injured by prey. Vera Lynn retreated to her ship, bleeding and confused. She had expected an easy kill, but instead faced a creature that fought with intelligence and determination. On the shadow edge, Zarathel felt virulent pain through their telepathic link and realized something unprecedented had occurred. The humans were not behaving like any prey species in Kethmori records. They were fighting back effectively and had actually wounded and experienced. Hunter Myra, Seth detected elevated stress hormones from all the aliens on the ship. The humans had done something that should have been impossible. They had drawn first blood against creatures that considered themselves the ultimate predators in the galaxy. Lisa and her team regrouped after the confrontation and began planning their next moves. They had proven that the aliens could be hurt, but they also knew this was just the beginning. Kate had bought them time and respect, but the real hunt was still coming. Amy worked feverishly to create more weapons and traps while Beth analyzed everything they had learned about alien psychology. The Kethmori might be superior in individual combat, but humans had advantages in teamwork and tactical thinking. The hunt had begun, but the predators were starting to realize they might have chosen the wrong prey. Lisa studied the alien blood samples that Kate had collected from the first battle. The Kethmori physiology was more advanced than human biology, but it had weaknesses that could be exploited. Their enhanced senses made them vulnerable to certain frequencies, and their telepathic links could be disrupted. Nimi had been working all night to create weapons, specifically designed to hurt alien hunters. She used the electromagnetic principles from their ship systems, combined with local materials, to build devices that would overload Kethmori nervous systems. Beth had decoded enough of the alien language to understand their tactical communications. The Kethmori were using predictable military formations and hunt patterns that could be countered. With proper preparation, Kate mapped the surrounding terrain and identified choke points where human tactics would be most effective. The four women decided not to wait for the next hunt to come to them. Instead, they would take the fight to the aliens and demonstrate that humans could be predators. Lisa divided them into two teams, each with specific objectives. Beth and Lisa would create psychological warfare, while Kate and Amy launched direct attacks on the alien hunters. The goal was to break the Kethmori confidence and force them to make mistakes that humans could exploit. Beth began broadcasting messages in the alien language using their communication equipment. She taunted the hunters, questioned their abilities, and challenged their honor. The messages were calculated to trigger emotional responses that would cloud alien judgment. Lisa added scientific analysis to the psychological attacks. She explained how human military tactics had evolved through thousands of years of warfare against intelligent opponents. The Kethmori had never faced prey that could think strategically or coordinate group attacks. Meanwhile, Kate and Amy moved through the jungle toward the position where Myra Seth was tracking them. The alien tracker had enhanced senses, but she was following human movement patterns that Kate was deliberately creating as bait. Me had prepared a series of interconnected traps and weapons along their chosen route. Each position was designed to channel the alien hunter into increasingly dangerous situations, while providing the humans with multiple escape routes. Myra Seth detected human scent trails and followed them with confidence. Her enhanced hearing could track heartbeats from great distances, and her vision could see heat signatures through jungle vegetation. She expected to corner her prey easily. The first trap was a simple explosive device that damaged nearby trees and created noise to mask human movements. Myra Seth avoided the blast, but moved directly into the kill zone for Amy's second weapon system. Kate opened fire with an improvised projectile launcher, while Amy activated electromagnetic disruptors that interfered with alien senses. Myra Seth found herself under coordinated attack from multiple directions. Simultaneously, the alien hunter had superior individual abilities, but the humans were fighting as a military unit. Each person covered the other's weaknesses while maximizing their combined effectiveness. Myra Seth tried to use her speed advantage, but ran directly into more prepared positions. Amy had studied alien movement patterns and created obstacles that forced Myra Seth into predictable paths. Kate positioned herself at each choke point with weapons designed to exploit alien weaknesses. The hunter became the hunted. As she fled from one trap into another, the chase continued for several hours with the humans maintaining pressure on their alien opponent. Miraseth was faster and stronger, but she was being outmaneuvered by creatures she had considered inferior. Every escape route led to another ambush. Finally, Kate managed to wound the alien tracker with a weapon that delivered electrical shock through metallic projectiles. Miraseth fell stunned and helpless while the humans surrounded her with improvised weapons pointed at vital areas for the second time in their species' history. A Kethmori hunter had been defeated by prey, but this time the humans had captured their opponent alive instead of simply driving her away. Lisa immediately began questioning the alien, while Amy prepared restraints. Beth used her language skills to extract information about Kethmori, society, technology, and hunting practices. Miraseth was confused and frightened by her capture. Prey species were not supposed to be capable of such organized resistance. The alien revealed that Kethmori hunters were telepathically linked during operations, sharing sensory information and emotional states. This connection made them more effective as a group, but it also meant that pain and fear experienced by one hunter affected the entire team. Lisa realized this gave humans a powerful psychological weapon. They could use their captured hunter to transmit terror and uncertainty directly to the other aliens. The telepathic link that made Kethmori stronger could become their greatest weakness. Kate and Amy began preparing for the next phase of their campaign, while Beth continued extracting intelligence from their prisoner. They learned about alien weapon systems, ship capabilities, and most importantly the location of the Shadow Hegemony. Started working on devices that could exploit the information they had gathered about Kethmori technology. Their weapons and equipment were more advanced than human systems, but they had design flaws that could be targeted on the Shadow Edge. Zara felt her tracker fear and confusion through their mental link. Something impossible was happening on the planet below. Her hunters were not just being resisted, they were being systematically defeated by primitive Prevera. Lynn was still recovering from her wounds and could barely believe what she was experiencing through the telepathic connection. The humans were fighting like trained soldiers, using tactics and coordination that should have been beyond their capabilities. Arethel tried to contact Miraseth, but received only fragmented thoughts filled with pain and terror. The tracker was alive, but under enemy control. Her captors were doing something to her mind that sent waves of panic through the entire hunting party. For the first time in 800 years, Zarathel felt genuine fear. These humans were not ordinary prey. They possessed intelligence, discipline, and ruthlessness that matched or exceeded Kethmori abilities. The hunt was becoming a war. Lisa stood over their alien prisoner and smiled grimly as she watched the creature tremble with fear. Humans had survived on one of the most dangerous planets in the galaxy by becoming apex predators. The Kethmori were about to learn what that really meant. Beth broadcast another message to the alien ship, but this time the tone was different. Instead of taunts, she issued a formal military challenge. She explained that humans did not hunt for sport, they fought to protect their own and eliminate threatscape. And Amy prepared to move against the Shadow Edge itself using intelligence gathered from their captive. The aliens had superior technology, but they had never faced opponents who understood warfare as a science rather than a game. Netha hunt was over now. This was combat between apex predator species, and the Kethmori were beginning to understand. They might not be the most dangerous creatures in the galaxy, after all. Zarathel paced the bridge of Shadow Edge as waves of terror flowed through the telepathic link from her captured tracker. The humans were doing something to Miraseth's mind that sent constant streams of fear and pain to every hunter on the ship. Had discovered that the alien telepathic connection worked both ways. Information and emotions could be transmitted from captive to captors, as well as between willing participants. She began using this knowledge as a weapon against the entire hunting. Part of me created devices that stimulated specific fear responses in alien nervous systems. When applied to Miraseth, these sensations were immediately shared with every other Kethmori hunter. The psychological torture was more effective than any physical weapon. Beth developed a systematic program of mental warfare designed to break alien confidence. She forced their prisoner to relive every moment of capture and defeat, while broadcasting these experiences directly to the Shadow Edge through their telepathic network. Kate used her military training to design scenarios that would maximize psychological impact on creatures that had never experienced failure. The humans took turns subjecting their captive to different forms of controlled terror, each designed to exploit specific alien weaknesses on the alien ship. Vera Lynn tried to block the telepathic connection, but the fear responses were too strong to ignore. Every few minutes she experienced moments of pure terror as their captive relived her capture and torture. The constant stress was wearing down her mental defenses. Thel realized that her hunting party was being systematically destroyed by creatures that understood psychological warfare better than any species they had encountered. The humans were not just fighting back, they were using Kethmori biology against itself. Lisa interrogated their prisoner about the location and defenses of the Shadow Edge. The alien ship was hidden behind the planet's largest moon, but its exact position could be calculated from the strength of the telepathic transmissions. Amy began reverse engineering captured alien technology to create weapons that could penetrate Kethmori defenses. Their equipment was more advanced than human systems, but it was designed for hunting, not warfare. Against intelligent opponents, Kate studied the intelligence about alien ship design and found critical vulnerabilities. The Shadow Edge prioritized speed and stealth over defensive capabilities, because Kethmori had never needed to fight enemies that could threaten them in space. Beth analyzed the psychological profiles of the remaining hunters and developed specific tactics to exploit their individual weaknesses. Vera Lynn was aggressive but predictable, while Zara Thel was experienced but had never faced a real challenge to her authority. Humans prepared for the final phase of their campaign against the alien hunters. They would take the fight directly to the Shadow Edge, using their captured shuttle and improvised weapon systems. The goal was complete elimination of the threat. Lisa explained to her team that they could not simply escape and leave the Kethmori to hunt other species. The aliens had to be stopped permanently, or they would eventually find and kill other humans somewhere else in the galaxy. He finished her modifications to their escape shuttle, adding weapon systems built from alien technology and human engineering principles. The small craft would be fast enough to reach the Shadow Edge before the aliens could effectively respond. Kate plotted an attack course that would bring them close to the alien ship, while minimizing their exposure to defensive weapons. The approach would be dangerous, but their psychological warfare had probably reduced alien reaction times significantly. Beth prepared final messages to broadcast during their attack. These would be designed to cause maximum psychological damage to any surviving aliens, while demonstrating human capabilities to potential future threats in the Shadow Edge. Zara Thel made a desperate decision to cut the telepathic connection with her captured tracker. The constant flow of terror was destroying her remaining hunters' ability to function effectively, but breaking the connection meant losing their enhanced coordination during combat and abandoning Miraseth to whatever fate the humans had planned. The decision went against thousands of years of Kethmori tradition and tactical doctrine. Vera Lynn supported the decision, even though it meant they would be fighting blind against opponents who had already proven their ability to outmaneuver individual hunters. The psychological torture had been more effective than any physical attack. When the telepathic link was severed, Lisa immediately noticed the change and realized the aliens were preparing for a final confrontation. The hunting party was probably going to make a desperate attack or attempt to flee the system entirely. Kent accelerated their timeline and launched their modified shuttle toward the alien ship position. The approach would take several hours, but every minute of delay gave the Kethmori more time to prepare defenses or escape. Amy activated the weapons systems she had created using alien technology combined with human military principles. The firepower was limited, but it was specifically designed to exploit weaknesses in Kethmori's ship construction. Beth began broadcasting messages that were calculated to "'Cause panic among alien crew members," she explained in detail. How humans had captured and tortured their tracker, while systematically defeating their hunters. Lisa prepared for the possibility that some aliens might escape to bring word of humanity to other Kethmori hunting parties. The psychological impact of their defeat would be just as important as the immediate tactical victories. Fel detected the approaching human shuttle and realized these creatures intended to attack her ship. Directly, the audacity was shocking, but she had learned to respect human capabilities after losing 2 hunters to primitive opponents. Vera Lynn prepared their weapon systems for combat against the human shuttle, but she was uncertain about their effectiveness. The aliens had superior firepower, but the humans had proven themselves capable of overcoming technological advantages. The Shadow Edge began evasive maneuvers while charging weapons for long-range engagement. Zarathel hoped to destroy the human shuttle before it could get close enough to use whatever improvised weapons it carried. Kate piloted their shuttle with skill learned from years of dangerous missions, while Amy managed their weapon systems. The approach was terrifying, but both women had faced death before and refused to show fear. The final battle was about to begin between species that represented completely different approaches to violence. The Kethmori hunted for sport and tradition, while humans fought for survival and protection. Lisa watched the alien ship grow larger on their screens and felt a cold satisfaction at the terror she knew the hunters must be experiencing. The predators were about to learn what it meant to be prey. The space battle began when Shadow Edge opened fire on the approaching human shuttle. Kate threw their small craft into evasive maneuvers that pushed both the ship and crew to their limits. The alien weapons were powerful, but designed for hunting, fleeing prey, not fighting maneuverable opponents. Sami returned fire with their improvised weapon systems, targeting specific weak points in alien ship construction that they had learned about from their captured prisoner. The damage was limited, but it proved that Kethmori technology was not invulnerable as it coordinated their attack while monitoring alien communications through equipment. Beth had modified the Kethmori were panicking as their ship took damage from creatures they had considered helpless prey just days earlier. Beth broadcast psychological warfare messages directly into alien ship systems using their communication frequencies. She described in detail how humans had tortured and defeated their hunters, while promising similar treatment for any survivors. Zarathel commanded her ship with desperate skill, but found herself fighting an opponent that used tactics completely different from anything in Kethmori. Experienced the humans flew like they expected to die, but were determined to take their enemies with them. Vera Lynn managed the defensive systems, but struggled with the psychological pressure of fighting creatures that had already humiliated their hunting party. The constant stream of threats and descriptions of torture made it difficult to concentrate on combat. Kate brought their shuttle close to the alien ship hull and used manual docking procedures to attach their vessel directly to the Shadow Edge. Amy immediately began cutting through alien armor with tools designed to exploit structural weaknesses. The boarding action caught the Kethmori completely off guard. They had never faced opponents willing to engage in close quarters combat aboard their own vessel. Lisa led the assault with weapons specifically created to harm alien physiology. Beth continued her psychological warfare from inside the alien ship, broadcasting messages that promised death to any Kethmori who resisted surrender. The combination of physical attack and mental pressure was devastating to alien morale. Zarathel gathered her remaining crew for a final stand in the ship's central control room. She had lived for 800 years and hunted across dozens of worlds, but had never faced opponents like these humans. The battle in the ship's corridors was brutal and decisive. Vera Lynn tried to use her superior speed and strength against Kate, but found herself outmaneuvered by military tactics. She did not understand the human fought dirty, using every advantage available. Amy used her engineering knowledge to turn the ship's systems against its own crew. She overloaded power conduits to create explosions and disabled life support in sections where aliens were hiding. The Kethmori found their own vessel, becoming Lisa confronted Zarathel in single combat, while Beth disabled the ship communication systems to prevent any distress signals from reaching other Keth-Mori vessels. The alien leader was skilled and dangerous, but she was fighting on human terms now. The duel between Lisa and Zarathel represented the fundamental difference between their species. The Keth-Mori fought with grace and tradition, following rules developed over millennia of hunting prey that could not fight back effectively. Lisa fought like a human soldier, trained to kill intelligent opponents who could adapt and resist. She used every dirty trick, every psychological advantage, and every weakness she had observed in alien behavior during their conflict. Zarathel was faster and stronger, but Lisa was smarter and more ruthless. The alien hunter had never faced an opponent who understood violence as a tool for survival rather than sport or entertainment. Fight ended when Lisa used alien overconfidence against itself. Zarathel expected her opponent to retreat when wounded, but humans fought harder when cornered. The final blow came when the alien hunter hesitated to deliver what she thought would be a killing strike. Lisa showed no mercy to a creature that had planned to hunt and kill her team for entertainment. She finished Zarathel with cold efficiency, while Beth recorded the alien death for broadcast to any other Keth-Mori who might threaten humanity with their leaders dead and their ship captured. The remaining alien crew surrendered completely. They had never experienced defeat before and were psychologically broken by the complete reversal of their situation. Kate took control of the Shadow Edge, while Amy began studying alien technology for anything that might be useful to human defense forces. The advanced systems would need to be understood and countered if other Keth-Mori came looking for revenge. Beth prepared a message to be broadcast on all Keth-Mori communication frequencies. The recording showed the defeat and death of the hunting party, along with detailed explanations of human military capabilities. Lisa addressed the alien crew directly and explained that humanity would not tolerate threats to their people anywhere in the galaxy. Any future Keth-Mori hunting parties would face the same fate as Zarathel and her hunters. The psychological impact of their defeat would spread throughout Keth-Mori society faster than any physical threat. The aliens had built their entire culture around being the ultimate predators, but humans had proven that assumption. Rangami discovered that the Shadow Edge contained trophies from hundreds of previous hunts, representing dozens of different species that had been wiped out by Keth-Mori hunters. The scale of alien genocide was staggering. Lisa realized that their victory had implications far beyond their own survival. The Keth-Mori had been terrorizing the galaxy for thousands of years and needed to be stopped permanently. Before they could recover from this defeat, Beth modified the alien ship communication systems to broadcast their victory message across all known Keth-Mori territories. The recordings would serve as both warning and proof that humans could not be hunted safely. Kate set course for human space, using alien navigation systems that would allow them to travel much faster than their original research vessel. The Shadow Edge would become proof of human capabilities when they reached Earth. The 4 women had transformed from peaceful scientists into warriors who had saved not only themselves, but potentially countless other species from alien predators. Their victory would mark the end of Keth-Mori dominance in their region of the galaxy. Began planning how human military forces could use captured alien technology to defend against future threats. The weapons and sensors could be adapted for use by Earth defense fleets. Lisa looked back at the planet where their ordeal had begun, and reflected on how much they had changed in just a few days. They had started as prey, but ended as apex predators, who had eliminated a threat to all humanity. The Keth-Mori had learned too late that some species were more dangerous than they appeared. Humans had evolved on a world so violent that they had become the most effective killers in the galaxy simply to survive. The message would spread through alien space that humanity was not prey, but predator, and that any species threatening them would pay the ultimate price for their mistake.